Well, the chips arrived. I don't know if you can see this. There's a size difference. This is a smaller package. The only positive thing is the pin spacing is identical. Obviously the pin out's identical. I think because the surface mount pads on there sort of extend underneath the chip a little bit, I'm going to get away with being able to fit them on there, I think. Going to give it a shot anyway. What I'm going to do with this, because the pins are a lot smaller, I'm going to do the same sort of unorthodox method of lifting, heating them up and lifting them, but I'm going to flood solder completely because I don't want to bend these pins. It's too small. It's going to be too problematic, I think. So we'll just flood solder across there like that. And I'm just going to very lightly, when it gets up to the right temperature, just try and lever one side just a little bit like that. And we're going to do the same with the other side. And you don't need any force, it will just come off, you know, it will just lift when it's ready. If it doesn't want to move, do not put any pressure on there. And in fact, I'm going to add some more solder here. Right, at that point now, because that's fairly well lifted, I'm going to actually use the solder sucker to remove that solder, because I suspect that that's actually off the board on that side. Certainly, with a bit of using just the solder sucker, that should free it pretty much. Yeah, I can see that's separated there. Yeah, you can see that's lifted. Again, one side done. So again, a bit more solder on this side, I think. This is the tricky bit sometimes because there we go. Just hold that up a sec. There we go. Bit of soldering braid on there. It will be very tight. This. It's probably, you might not be able to see it very well, but there isn't a massive, you know, a massive amount of space on those pads. But if I get it perfectly aligned, it should be okay. It's not going to be ideal, and in fact, I'm going to order another one of these to get the exact right size, because it's bothering me really that isn't what should be there. Ultimately, I might start getting bad solder units on that because it's not perfect fit. Use the blue tack again, as I did last time. This is going to be interesting. Bits of solder. Now, because of the size of this, it's going to be really hard to get this looking as clean as the RAM was. The key is just getting a join, if I'm completely honest on this, because of the size of the pins. You know, if it works, that's just like a plus. It really is. Because ultimately, I probably will need to put a different chip on here. I'm not even sure this is going to make good enough connectivity, to be fair. No, those pins I'm not so sure they're connecting. Really, I'm not. All we can do is try. Same thing on the other side. Right, not a very clean job. It's pretty difficult because I'm using a pretty fat solder iron tip there. I'm just going to do some continuity checks here just for a bit of peace of mind. Just between the edge of the pin and as low as I can get on the board with the solder point. Well, seemingly that's all good. I'm gonna give it a try. Right, I just cleaned that up. I'm gonna leave that chip on there for the moment because there's good connectivity, and that's all that counts really. It works. Solder's not too bad. You can see there. You know, to clean it up. It's not perfect. Obviously, to get a perfect job on this, what you really should do is use Chip Quick to remove these chips. That's the safest bet, or a hot air rework station. But you know, you need the tool. I've not got it, but you need the tool that grips the chips and things, so you can heat up, and then sort of, you know, suck. It's like a little suction thing, sits on top, and you can just like lift it away. The other thing you can do is what Luke Morse recently demonstrated on one of his videos, where you feed a bit of wire through underneath the legs and just, you know, solder it to some point somewhere, and then just like pull it away from the chip as you apply heat, and that'll work in a similar sort of way to the way I did these. And the chips that I took off, by the way, the legs are perfect. They're nice and straight. Well, there we go, fixed. Power was gone. It's a very good sign. Got to remember at this stage the backup RAM's probably in a bit of a scrambled mess because, well, I would think so. Maybe when it's, I think in the initial, there's probably an area of that backup RAM that is used for initialization data. You know, sort of, has the RAM been initialized? Has it been set up that first time? And I think that's what fires the debug, you know, that whole process of the memory test. So previously, when it was buggy to start with, when it was glitching on some games, that was because that area was probably correctly set and was probably correctly being read, and that wasn't getting updated. What was getting updated is when each time you put a new game in, obviously you've only got 8 slots that the Neo Geo has save slots for within that 64K of RAM. So it works its way around the RAM, and obviously it's because that chip was not right. It was writing scrambled data effectively, you know, incorrect, invalid, corrupt data every time it wrote out. So, you know, that was why after cycling through the games I got the problems I got with the games, and it was only really when I disconnected the battery completely to, you know, change the battery, that at that point, you know, the initialization area, you know, that sort of standard protected area in that backup RAM that probably holds system settings and things, was initialized. So therefore, you know, the BIOS goes, oh, okay, I need to do a test. You know, this is untested, you know, RAM, if you like. It's fresh. It's you know, new system, and that's when that part of the BIOS kicks in. And of course, from there on in, that's where I got all the problems. So I guess soon find out. No crash. How awesome is that? Correct time. This is it. This has not been working at all. Awesome. I'm not happy with that 74 HC32, the way I fitted it. It's just not. I mean, I can tidy the RAM. I already thought I'm going to tidy the RAM up a bit anyway. It just needs, you know, 5 minutes of me just smoothing the solder connections off there, getting rid of the excess solder on the corner points, and it'll look almost like it was done at factory. You know, even that's just with a 15 watt cheap iron. But that 74 HC32, it works. Like I say, I've got connectivity, console's working. The solder on it, the pins are a lot smaller than on the SD RAM. So it's, you know, it doesn't look great in my mind, and I'm just not happy with it. You know, it's just going to bother me. So I will readdress that. I'm going to have a look on eBay, see if I can find another supplier of 74 HC32s. Hopefully the right, and that's what I'm going to have to check, whether it's the right pitch, I guess, you know, the right type. I don't know, there's SOIC 14 or something, I don't know, there might be different sizes of that type. I honestly don't know, I'm not that familiar with some of these SMD, SMT type packages. I'm just working my way through it really, because I'm giving it a best shot. But this is great, this is just working there. Totally made up. Brilliant. Right, let's go back to the menu and test something else. Hold down start, by the way, on these 1611s. What else have we got? I'm going to try that because that was not working at all. It is now, it's just hanging. Awesome. Yeah, this game just gave me a black screen previously. This was one of the few on the whole card that just would not even load. Brilliant. This looks pretty good. I never saw this, you know, when it was out in the arcades and things, but it looks great. I'm not even sure. Oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. I was going to say I'm not even sure what you do on it, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Looks like a bit of a cross between Ghosts and Goblins and Bubble Bobble, I guess. Right, I'll go back to the start menu. What else we got? My favourite, let's try that. And the Neo Geo Turf Masters. It's got the introductory, you know, sort of splash music there back as well now. Now this was working even with the backup RAM as it was, but after I played some other games it stopped working. And after I got to this point here where you select the map and start it was hanging with a black screen. Yeah, fixed. Oh yes. Right, let's go back to the start menu. I'm going to try another Metal Slug just because it was the Metal Slug ones, the ones that were just not working at all. Metal Slug 2, now this was a really interesting, you know, glitch I guess again. What was happening with this one? When you hit start, it started both players, and I just couldn't understand it. So it's like, you know, the game worked, whereas the other Metal Slug wouldn't. But you ended up with both players started at the same time. You know, 2-player mode. So you're like, it's only one player now. Previously, you know, this player here would build it up as well, even though I'd on click hit start on the one controller. So it's looking sweet. I think that's going to work as well. Yeah. Time is okay. Yeah, it's going down. That's fine. Oh yes. I can see many hours of Metal Slugging coming on. One thing I never noticed with Metal Slug before is, yeah, it's a bit, it struggles a bit this, performance-wise. You know, you've got these sprites on the game, on the screen. Whether it's different revisions of Neo Geo have a different performance hit there, I don't know whether they're all like that. Oh yes. Right, try something else. To be honest, I don't think there's much more to say about this other than it's fixed. I'm glad it's fixed. I hope this helps someone else. I've certainly learned a few things here about the Neo Geo while I've been at it. You know, it's been interesting stuff. On my last video, you know, I talked about the RAM, and there was a few bits where I'd had to edit in there. You know, sort of corrections. You know, I'm still learning some of this stuff myself, and I'm not entirely sure that's how accurate some of that information I was talking about with regards to the RAM is right. So when we were looking at the original address, and it said, what was it, B255, and I started saying, okay, well, it's the lower address. You know, the B2's the lower RAM, the lower, you know, part of that, and it's not really. In my mind, it's actually the upper. I think I'm going off something that I read. Someone was saying, oh, it's the lower. It's probably RAM 3. So that, you know, that sort of sat with me in my mind, in the back of my mind, and I kept thinking, okay, well, you know, even though B2 is the first part of that word, you know, 55 in my mind is the lower part. Well, actually, I've been told that B2 is the lower part. B2, that first byte, B2 relates to RAM 3, and you know, and these were kind of experts talking about this. So I've got to go with that and assume that they know what they're talking about, and that B2, you know, that first byte, where I had B2 previously, is the lower, which would relate to, and they were saying, you know, the fault's probably in the RAM 3. Now, when you look at that there on face value, and this could be where I'm wrong, I think that when you got B2, those two individual bytes of that word, in fact, is it a word? Is it B2? Yeah, it is. But I'm just wondering if half of that byte is stored in one RAM chip and half of it in the other. I could be wrong, but anyway, you know, again, if I spent more time looking at the circuit diagram, it'd probably become pretty simple. I haven't looked at where the data lines go to. I'm guessing like 0 to 7 go to one of the RAM chips, and 8 to 15 or whatever go to the other. It's not that important. It's what is important is the base, just understanding that, you know, vaguely how that works, I guess. Another game that wouldn't work was Neo Mr. Do. Let's try that. Yeah, this is working now. No idea what to do on this. Okay, looks a bit like Dig Dug. Sure, point this is. Guess you collect tools for others. Oh yeah, okay. Right, let's go back to the start menu. Give one more game a go. Just trying to think of one here, just looking at the games on the list that either didn't work at all or was problematic. Viewpoint, this wouldn't work. Yeah, this is looking alright. Pretty good game this actually. I missed this when it was in the arcades. I like the music and stuff, and it's a different, certainly a different, you know, style, I guess, of play from the sort of isometric angle. Yeah, I think I can get into this. What I'd really like to get for this at some point, but you know, it's finding the £300 to buy it with, is Fast Striker. It's probably worth spending that money for that game, to be honest. If you like that game, play it on the Dreamcast first. You can get that, you know, you can download the ISO of that free to try it. Obviously, it's much cheaper to buy the original, which I'd recommend from the original authors there, because it'd be on DVD, CD or whatever it's on. It's much cheaper, but yeah, Neo Geo, obviously a lot of time goes into the manufacturing of the cart. There's a lot of components in there, a hell of a lot of ROM chips. So yeah, £300. Yeah, it's a bit overpriced, I guess. You know, it probably costs 150, 100 in materials, I guess. But you know, there's obviously a lot of work goes into the actual producing those physical carts, especially when it's only a small production run. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day in the future I might get Fast Striker for this. Next steps with this console is to console. There you go, to consoleize it. I've already ordered some acrylic and stuff that I'm going to use to fashion a sort of some case parts out of, and I've got the connectors and stuff already ordered for the you know, 15 pin, I think, D-type for the joystick, and a couple of 8-pin DINs for the video out and stuff. I need to get a power jack. I haven't thought what we're going to do about the power yet. You can do a mod on these boards to switch it so that it doesn't need 12 volts. It just runs all of it where you normally get 12 volt required for the sound components. You can route that all through +5. Another one of those mods from that great website, mmkey.co.uk. Well worth checking out his site. Yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this helped somebody, and speak to you soon.